chicken burger. So, it's Hallie, and welcome to Branching Paths. I didn't know we got teamed up with, various artists for this. But hey, the reason I'm playing this mod is because Shiro is in it as a character. And the thing is, unless I'm mistaken, and not to my knowledge, I don't believe Spaghetto has played any of Shiro's, content. He hasn't seen his AMA, he hasn't seen his rep in Take-Two. He's only experienced the introduction that Shiro got in the festival demo of Take-Two. So it'll be curious to see what his take on him is like, without really knowing much more than that little bit. But anyway, this is the menu selection for episodes 1 through 5 of DDLC Branching Paths, the Anime Club arc. The episodes will be unlocked as you play through the mod. Only episodes 1 through 5 are available in this version. Future episodes will be added in future updates. Important note, the MC's name has already been predetermined, however, the name you set will instead appear as their middle name. Please select an episode to begin. Well, I guess we're starting with the start, episode 1. Today's the day, huh? Today is when I'm supposed to turn my life around for the better. At least that's what Mom keeps telling me. She's been telling me things will get better for the better part of a year now. Though the reality has been quite the opposite. Everything has just been utter hell for us. Between her fights with my dad, a loan foreclosure on our old house, and my parents working overtime, I could barely live in my own house without going crazy. I just wanted all the screaming and all the fighting to end. I guess I got my wish. After Mom signed some papers, we finally saved up enough money to finally afford our own place far away in a quiet neighborhood. Far enough from our old life to where it's nothing but a distant memory to me. The school's supposed to be decent, but I never really cared about that. I just wish things didn't come to this. I never asked to be thrown in the middle of my parents' petty disputes. That's what I get for being an only child, huh? Although, one thing I have going for me is that I don't have to hear my parents screaming at each other or throwing things around in the living room. I guess that being the new kid in a place I've never been to is the price I have to pay for some peace and quiet. Hopefully nobody bothers me. I just want to get my bearings and get settled in. I might not get that chance though. Since I'm the new kid around here, I'm sure people will try to come up to me. Well, it's like my dad used to say, suck it up and deal with it. Just make the most of your situation and you'll turn out alright. Honestly, that's probably the smartest thing my dad's ever said to me. And probably one of the few times he actually tried to help me. Well, there's no use in dwelling on that anymore. What's done is done. I have a new life waiting for me, and I'll just have to make the most of it. A train rolls up to the stop and greets me by flinging its doors open. I glance around to see if anyone else is going to get on the train with me. Nope, just me. After another sigh, I stand up and climb the steps to the train. I end up taking a spot at the very back of the train. There's a few other people sitting in the middle who I assume are my soon-to-be classmates, given our identical uniforms. Though, I think I'll wait to make friends for now. As the train resumes driving and not knowing how much further I have until we get to school, I figure that it's probably a good time to finally look at my schedule. I unzip my backpack and remove the schedule from my binder. As I look over the schedule, I look to see where my first class is. Looks like it's with Mr. Hara. Apparently he's somewhere on the second floor in room 212. Huh, looks like he's my math teacher too. First time I'm having math as my first subject of the day. I just thought my teachers are relatively nice. I mean, it's the first day. Isn't it a requirement to be nice for the first week and then overwhelm us with homework? Maybe it's just my old school. I put my schedule back in my binder as the train slows to a halt at the next stop. I look down the aisle to see a few other students walk onto the train, but they mostly take their seats at the front. However, the last one to get on the train doesn't take a seat at the front and decides to walk towards the back, where I am. Getting a closer look, I'm able to make out that it's a rather chubby guy with greasy black hair and glasses. Basically, your textbook loser. Granted, I shouldn't make assumptions about people based on their appearance. It's just one of those times where you can't help it and you just automatically know. The guy stops at the last row where I'm at. Excuse me, sir, is this seat taken? Statement, not a question. Is he really talking to me? Why does he want to sit with me? There's literally 100 other spots he could take. Whatever. For all I know, I could be on this train for a while. No, not at all. Awesome. The guy puts his stuff down and slides into the seat next to me. Fortunately, he isn't large enough to squish me against the window, but it feels weird to share some legroom with him.
I'm Shiro, by the way.
Michael. Shiro reaches his hand out for a shake, in which I politely return the gesture. His grip was firm, though a little sweaty. The train resumes driving after we end the handshake, though it doesn't take long for Shiro to try to strike up a conversation.
So, Michael, you're new, right? I don't recognize you from anywhere from last year.
I wasn't intending to be very social at this hour, but it looks like I have no choice. Yeah, I am. I just moved here a couple of weeks ago. My mom wanted to make the move right in time for the school year, I say with a weary smile. Shiro lets out a slight chuckle at my attempt at humor.
Heh, mothers, always annoying us, but always looking out for us.
You said it.
So, where are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm from out of state. I lived right by Gold Lake.
Wow, you're far out, aren't you?
Guess so. I longingly look out the window as the neighborhood passes us by in a flash. I realize how I'm not really used to seeing the houses so close together like this. Back at home, things were much farther apart. We had a gorgeous view of the lake from our backyard porch. My parents would always take me on drives around the lake when I was little. It was honestly some of the best times of my life.
So, what do you like to do for fun, Michael?
Shiro snaps me out of my childhood reminiscing. Oh, well, I play video games.
Oh, cool. I have a PS5 in my place if you ever want to come over.
Well, I'll keep it in mind. I usually play on desktop.
Nice. I have a desktop, but I'm looking to upgrade it to something more up-to-date. Technology is only in fashion for so long, eh?
That it is. If he's putting this much effort into holding this conversation, I guess I should do my part too. You have any other hobbies?
Yeah, I do. I love anime.
Do you now?
Visual novels in particular.
I can't say I'm too familiar with visual novels. What anime do you like? Shiro begins going on a long tangent of his favorite animes and why he likes them. I'm able to recognize most of the titles he listed, even some of the more obscure ones that only I thought my friends and I liked. It's pretty shocking how much I already have in common with this guy, and I haven't known him for longer than 5 minutes. Maybe he isn't half bad.
And yeah, you can say I'm a pretty big fan. By the way, you should know that I'm a member of our school's anime club. I'm the secretary, actually. You can stop by after school if you're interested. We're always looking for more members. Any members.
I'll keep it in mind. I'm new here, so I just want to see what's out there before I decide on anything too big.
Understandable. It's no big deal. But you can find us on the 5th floor in the room 501. That's where all the clubs are.
Got you.
So, what's your first class?
I have math with Mr. Hara, room 212. Shiro drops his jaw.
Oh my gosh, he's my first class too. He's really awesome.
No way. Well, looks like I'll be seeing more of you.
Indeed you shall.
The train rolls to a slow stop as Shiro peeks over my shoulder.
Well, here we are, our home away from home. For 8 hours.
It's more of a torture marathon than anything.
Well, it has those days. Want me to show you the way out is?
Yeah, that'd be great, Shiro. Alright then, onwards. Shiro grabs his bag and proudly marches down the train aisle with me in tow. Honestly, it looks like he thinks we're about to embark on some sort of quest. I never seen anyone this energetic about getting anyone on a tour, not even professional tour guides. Maybe it's just how the people are around here. I can't say it's a bad thing, though. I look up at my new school as we get off the train. I can't say it's anything different from what I envisioned in person. The important thing is that it looks like the school in the flyer my mom showed me. I look up at the building and see the name of the school engraved right above the entrance. St. Salvato High School. Yep, this is the right place.
You might want to stay close to me for this,
Shiro says, nudging me, bringing me out of my gaze of the school's entrance.
It's about to get crowded.
I look over Shiro's shoulder to see a mob of students funneling into the front doors of the school. There are several adults monitoring and helping the line move along at a somewhat reasonable pace.
This is where the fun begins,
he calls out to me. I'm glad I have you as my tour guide. I'd get lost in this. I jokingly elbow Shiro's arm.
Yeah, right you are.
Shiro and I join the increasingly large mob of students as we wait for our chance to enter. After navigating through the mob of students on the first floor, it was relatively easy to get to our class on the second floor. Actually, we were the first students to arrive, and because of that, Shiro insisted that we should sit at the front of the room. While I typically like to sit at the back of the room in my classes, I eventually relented and decided to go along with Shiro and sit in the first row. After all, we're getting along all right so far, so might as well. Thankfully, I was able to convince him that we should sit on the wall side of the room. I could use the opportunity to rest my head against the wall. especially since Mom kept me up with her crying over the move last night. As we're passing the time before class starts, going on about our favorite anime and video games, the other students start to file in and take their seats with us. As my soon-to-be classmates begin to file into the room, one of them manages to catch my attention. A brunette girl with glasses, carrying an armful of thick textbooks, posters, and art supplies with her. Under normal circumstances, there is no way someone of her height and stature should be able to hold on to all that, but she walks on as if it's barely holding her back. The crayon boxes and containers are perfectly balanced on top of the paper as she takes one careful step after the other, making sure to pace herself to be on par with everyone else's speed. I have seen people carrying a lot of stuff going from class to class before, but this is on a whole other level. 2 heavy textbooks under all of that art stuff. Heck, it'd be a challenge even for me to make sure I didn't drop anything. It's quite amazing that she's able to hold on to all that perfectly and with no help. I guess she's a lot stronger than she looks. She ends up taking the seat behind me and lays out all her stuff on her desk. I turn to Shiro, who seems to be unfazed by what we both just witnessed. Hey. I lean in and whisper in Shiro's ear. Who's that girl sitting behind us?
Oh, that's Samantha, but everyone calls her Sam.
I take it she's an art student?
A pretty good one, too. I had her in my intro to art class last year. I can't say I really ever interacted with her much, or really ever talked to her. Heck, now I think about it, I barely ever saw her, but she is pretty nice, though.
Interesting. Thanks. I glance over my shoulder and take another good look at Sam, who seems to be reorganizing her backpack so everything she's carrying can fit somehow. I turn back to Shiro, who has a smug look on his face.
Why'd you ask? You think she's kawaii?
Shiro jokingly punches my arm. Hey, keep your voice down. I don't want her to hear. I say as quietly as I can, but she probably didn't hear us thanks to the ambient sounds of everyone else in the room engaging in their own side conversations. She also seems too preoccupied into whatever she's doing to pay attention to what we're saying.
Oh, come on. You wouldn't be the first to have a crush on her.
I don't have a crush on her. I don't even know her. Do you think this is a Disney movie? Shiro shrugs his shoulders.
Trust me, it wouldn't be the craziest thing to have happened here. Just ask around about last year's student council elections. That was a whole circus.
Well, I just think she's interesting. That's all there is to it.
Hey, I'm just messing with you. I hope I didn't offend you or anything.
Shiro nervously scratches his head, waiting for my response. Maybe I'm being a little too abrasive. No, you're fine. Don't beat yourself up about it. Shiro breathes a sigh of relief.
Oh, good. Sometimes I get ahead of myself and I say the wrong thing.
Hey, it happens to the best of us. Don't worry.
It's nice to meet someone who's open-minded.
Shiro smiles warmly at me. Yeah, I guess it is. Besides, I think I know how to get you back.
Oh boy.
Shiro jokingly rolls his eyes. Before we could continue our banter, the door opens and the man who I presume to be Mr. Hara enters and walks to the front of the room. All the side conversations immediately stop as everyone turns their eyes to the front of the room.
Good morning, class. I'm Mr. Hara. I'll be your instructor for algebra this year.
Mr. Hara grabs a piece of chalk and writes his name on the board, as all teachers do on the first day of class. Once he's done, he turns back to face us.
I hope everyone had a great and relaxing summer, though I'll be honest with all of you for a second. I already miss it.
A few students in the back let out a giggle.
Now, don't get me wrong, I love teaching. This is my 8th year at this school. Despite my cynicism, I do like it here. I'm not saying that just because the principal told me to.
Mr. Hara says as he eyes the door. Everyone in the room lets out a small laugh at Mr. Hara's charade.
Jokes aside, I see some familiar faces around the room as I did teach quite a few of you in my pre-algebra course last year. To those of you, I say welcome back. For those of you who are new, welcome to my class, and I hope to make this a fun learning experience for you. Now, I know algebra isn't exactly what everyone's favorite subject. You won't offend me if you don't like it. It's just another fancy word to describe math in high school. Trust me, I've gotten the picture over the last few years. Though you could say that algebra is a lot like high school. Everyone's chasing their exes and nobody knows why.
Everyone lets out a laugh, even Mr. Hara can't help but crack a grin. A few students in the back are laughing hysterically.
Alright, shut up.
Mr. Hara waits a few moments for everyone to collect themselves.
Now then, I have a fun year planned ahead of us. So long as you do the work and pay attention, you should pass this class with no problems. I have a syllabus to give out. I won't go over everything, but there's a few things worth highlighting.
Mr. Hara gives the front row a stack of papers for us to pass to the back of the room. Once he gives me the stack to hand back, I immediately realize that this is going to be my first interaction with Sam. Though it's not likely to be meaningful in any way, it wouldn't hurt to at least say my name to her. As soon as Mr. Hara hands me the stack of papers, As soon as Mr. Hannah, I turn around and hand them back to Sam. Here you go.
Thanks.
I'm Michael, by the way.
Hi?
We exchange a brief glance before I go back to facing the front. In the corner of my eye, I catch a glimpse of Shiro smirking at me, but I simply pretend not to see it. Still, all things considered, I think I made a positive first impression on her. I end up enjoying my first class more than I first thought I would. After Mr. Hara read off some of the key points from the syllabus, he started introducing us to some of the problems we'll be dealing with this year. Overall, he seems like a good teacher, at least good enough to where I won't fall asleep in his class. It's not something I'm too used to, but it's definitely a nice change of pace. After some time, Mr. Hara announces it's homeroom time and we're free to relax before the bell rings. In the meantime, he throws on the morning announcements to serve as kind of ambient background noise while the class mingles. I paid attention to the announcements in passing. Basically, the principal of the school gave us the usual "Welcome back" speech that's standard. Our student council president also gave some brief remarks, but it was at that point I stopped paying any real attention. I considered using this time to try to talk to Sam more, but she seemed too preoccupied with drawing something, so I just kept it to myself. At some point, Shiro and I decided to compare our schedules side by side, and we ended up discovering that we have the same lunch period as well.
Well, I guess I'll just see you then. I pack my own lunch and I typically like to sit outside, so just find me once you pick up the school's 5-star meal.
Shiro says the last part with a haphazard smile and thumbs up. You don't trust the food here?
Was the food at your old school any good?
Fair point.
Yeah, well, it won't kill you, but it's not something I'd have every day.
Well, hey, I guess I'll have to try it then.
Well, if you can't stomach it, I'm happy to share some of mine.
Yeah, that'd be fine, thanks. As the school bell rings, Mr. Hara abruptly stands up.
Hey guys, I almost forgot. Give me your signed medical forms. I need to turn that in to the front office by the end of the day.
Everyone hastily opens their binders and takes out their signed medical forms. Mr. Hara personally comes around and collects them. I added 2 extra words to that sentence. However, he stops for a brief moment at the row behind me, Sam's row. Mr. Hara then whispers something to Sam and walks away. After a few moments, Mr. Hara collects all the forms and tells us that we're free to leave. As Shiro and I are closing up our binders, I notice that Sam's not moving at all. She's just staring at the wall without any trace of emotion on her face. I was about to ask her if she was okay before remembering that it's not my business. Shiro and I leave the room as I sneak one more glance at Sam. Well, that was weird. I wonder what's the deal with her.
Hey, you good?
Shiro brings me out of my train of thought. Yeah, I'm good. Just thinking.
About Sam.
I roll my eyes at Shiro.
Believe it or not, I actually had a somewhat similar experience with her last year.
What do you mean? Shiro pulls me aside and lowers his voice.
I had her homeroom last year, too. When we had to turn in the medical forms, she stayed back then, too. I don't know why. I never dared to ask her, and I don't think anyone else has either.
You said she was absent a lot last year, didn't you? Shiro simply nods his head.
I guess she just has some sort of condition. No one knows, not even those closest to her. For what it's worth, she seems perfectly fine to me, but I'm no doctor. My untrained eyes aren't fit to make a medical diagnosis. But it's just probably best we continue to stay out of her business and we don't go snooping about.
I feel like Shiro's just saying that just in case I'm the snooping type. Which is fair, I suppose. We don't know each other that well, and if I really do want to get close to her, being invasive would probably reflect poorly on me. God, I can read. Yeah, you're right. Not that I'm the snooping or gossip type anyways.
Well, that's good. Anyways, I'll see you at lunch. Bye, Michael.
Later, Shiro. We head our separate ways to our next classes. My next few classes went by relatively quickly. My teachers weren't as eccentric as Mr. Hara, but they weren't exactly boring either. I did make some small talk with a few of the people around me, but nothing to the extent that I've had with Shiro. I have to say, he's surprised me so far. I thought he was going to be annoying or overly geeky, but he's been pretty alright. He actually has. As the bell rings, my teacher dismisses us to go to lunch. I grab my money from my binder and head down to the cafeteria.